Karaoke. Oh my God, yes. I love karaoke. I love to sing. I started singing at a very, very young age. I was trained actually in vocals. I studied theater in high school and college, and even into law school, I was doing some theater. And it was funny because my law student friends, when they would see me act, they were like, did you know that you could act? Like, is this an accident? And I'm like, no, I knew I could act and I had considered becoming an actor, but then I got too scared, quite frankly, and thought, wow, that's going to be really hard. So I decided to become a lawyer, which there's a whole lot of acting.
That's hilarious.
There's a whole lot of acting. There are a whole lot of thespians out there who became lawyers who would really rather be on stage. At some point, your parents say, how are you planning on paying the bills? And then you're like, well, just go be a lawyer. And then you rack up $150,000 of debt in law school. And you're like, well, that didn't really work out the way I thought it was going to.
I'm already juggling so many things, family and responsibilities. I don't have time to learn really all the ins and outs of podcasting, let alone produce episodes and market them.
Me too. But the beauty of podcasting is that once you set it up, it can actually save you time. We'll streamline everything so that you only spend about 30 minutes a week creating an episode. Plus, I'll show you simple automation tools to handle all the rest, making podcasting a time-efficient part of your routine.
It's a real gift. Someone said, wow, Katie, I can't believe you're not selling this. And I said, well, I'm paying back and I'm paying it forward because I got so much help. And because Poppy had died and I had been through that grief process and I had received and needed to receive a whole bunch of help after her passing that I had never needed before as a successful 30-something lawyer who was capable of just taking care of all of things. Then I was just completely crushed. I already knew how to receive help. So when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was like, okay, world, bring it on. I didn't care if you dropped off lasagna or if you were praying for me. I didn't care if it was you taking my daughter for a play date or walking my dog. I was like, I will receive it, bring it, because I cannot do this on my own. But a lot of people, a breast cancer diagnosis is truly one of their very first traumas that they are trying to deal with themselves and facing their own mortality, not being well, and not being able to be the pillar of strength that's holding up the whole family all the time, doing it all right. Like for the very first time, they're just literally like, I can't. And they don't know how to do that. And they don't know how to let themselves rest. They don't know how to ask for help. They don't know how to receive help. So this guide is something that as the friend, you have a little bit of wisdom, and it's like lifting the veil of being able to see, okay, here's what's really going on. Don't take no for an answer.
Has your life, your dreams been interrupted? Good news. It is possible to reinvent our lives. People are doing it every day, and some are brave enough to share the struggles, disappointments, and challenges. If you are looking for a new beginning, a do-over, or to rediscover your passion, maybe even find a new one, then grab a cup of coffee and let's talk. Interrupted, Act 2, Reinventing Your Legacy, with your host, Coach Lori.
Katie Joy Duke is a memoirist, mindset life coach, transformational speaker, and breast cancer advocate. A stage 4 breast cancer survivor and bereaved mother. Katie's award-winning memoir, Still Breathing, My Journey with Love, Loss, and Reinvention, is a heartbreaking yet hopeful love story that explores her journey through grief, healing, and self-reinvention after the death of her daughter, Poppy. Katie uses her lived experiences to inspire others to embrace life's transitions with courage and authenticity. As the founder of Emerging Goddess Retreat and the creator of Light Me Up, a 6-week self-awareness and empowerment intensive, Katie leads transformative experiences that guide participants to realign with their intuition, reclaim their worthiness, and awaken their creative power. Through her coaching practice, she partners with individuals, including women, working professionals, and cancer survivors, to reprogram subconscious limiting beliefs, rediscover their essence, and create lives filled with meaning and joy. Katie is a passionate advocate with the National Breast Cancer Coalition and frequently speaks on topics of resilience, self-compassion, and post-traumatic growth.
Katie Joy Duke. It is so wonderful to meet you in person. I love that we've known each other for years, but we've never, well, this isn't even really in person.
Yeah.
But welcome.
Thank you so much, Lori. I'm so happy to be here.
So we always like to start with where you are. And oh my goodness, you have 2 books now. You lead retreats. You are a coach. So many things. So tell us about your life and what you're doing.
To bring you up to the very current moment, I am actually driving down to SeaTac this afternoon to pick up my private chef who's flying up from Ventura, California. And tomorrow we're going to Whidbey Island for the inaugural Emerging Goddess Retreat. Yes, it starts tomorrow. It is Thursday through Sunday, and it is going to be such a magical container for 11 humans who have said yes, as well as myself and my assistant. We are going to be having ceremonies, fire ceremonies, moon ceremonies, oracle cards, tarot cards. We're writing poetry. We're doing artwork. We're going forest bathing. We're walking a labyrinth. We're going to the beach. We're going to be doing so many, and lots of yoga nidra, lots of rest, lots of rejuvenation, reconnecting with our intuition. And that is the immediate and most exciting thing that I have going on in my life. And that retreat and that download that I received from Source Energy to create that retreat is a long culmination of healing and learning how to love myself wholly and completely, and trusting the divinity within me to be a way shower, to be a guide that is guided, to be someone who has the ability to show up completely and imperfectly and hold space for others who are on that journey. And that's how I came up with the title, The Emerging Goddess, because we are all in a different state of our emergence. Some of us feel way advanced and super grounded and confident. And others are like, gosh, I really want to try this on. I want to listen to myself more. I want to lay down the social conditioning. I don't want to give so much credit to all these beliefs that I formed when I was 10 that aren't serving me anymore. So yeah, it's been an amazing business venture for me to sell something, have all these massive upfront expenses that I've got to cover and meet my margins and find the chef and put together. I've got like 6 women-owned local businesses that are helping sponsor. I know, I'm so proud of myself, Laurie.
Well, so you do have a new program. Why don't you tell us about this 6-week intensive?
Okay, great. So I've been life coaching one-on-one with my clients for 8 years now, and it's always been highly personalized to the individual. But recently I came up with an idea to develop a 6-week intensive that would really get a very grounding baseline for my clients of an understanding of themselves. And that's called Light Me Up. It's a 6-week self-awareness and empowerment intensive. It's for professionals, creatives, and seekers ready to reignite their inner light by distinguishing and learning their core values, distinguishing their essence from their survival mechanism, looking at their priorities, where they are now and where they want them to be, and then coming up with a clear vision of their life purpose and where they want to go. And I'm offering this intensive at a ridiculously low introductory price. Right now, it's $555 for the 6-week program. That's one-on-one coaching for 6 weeks. And then I'm creating a group coaching container where people who have completed the program will then be either able to work with me one-on-one if they want the private coaching, or then be in a group container where they're with other like-minded individuals who have this baseline understanding of themselves, this vocabulary and this awareness, so that not only can they learn more about themselves, but they can actually help reflect and mirror and coach one another. So I'm really excited about this and what it's going to mean for expanding my practice. And also, as you mentioned, you feel like everybody needs a coach. A lot of coaches charge a lot of money. The results are variable. And I want to keep coaching at a price where people can afford it and not break the bank. And I don't think that coaching should necessarily be a privilege, right? I feel like you said, everybody needs it, right? So keeping it at a price that's affordable and sustainable for people to continue growing.
Katie, you've had several interruptions, and I probably way more, but you've written a book on both of them. So let's talk about your interruptions.
Yeah, okay, sounds great. The first unplanned interruption happened in 2015 when my newlywed husband and I found out that we were pregnant with our daughter, Poppy. I had gone into labor one day after her due date. when we got to the hospital to give birth, when the nurse asked us to settle in so that she could monitor Poppy's heartbeat and see how Poppy was responding to the contractions, she could no longer find a heartbeat. Yeah. So Poppy had died sometime between Wednesday when we'd had our last, appointment with our midwives, and that was Sunday, Monday when we went in to give, I was in labor. We were 6 months married. We were madly in love. It was like I'd been living this fairy tale of all the unfolding of this blessing of having this child. We were both in our mid-30s. So we were like totally ready and like, okay, great. We hadn't planned on this, but let's do it. And this is going to be great. And then she died, and she was stillborn. We got to spend about 24 hours with her in the hospital. We held her, of course. Eli cut her umbilical cord. And I mean, it was devastating. It was utterly devastating. And, we went home empty handed. And so that was the life interruption, the woman that existed before that day, she doesn't exist anymore. That Katie died when my daughter died, that part of me died. And so I began this new life for a long time, I was just completely a mess, but I started journaling immediately and trying to process what was, of course, grief. And I had had losses before in my life, but I had never had anything even remotely close to this happen to me, and the sadness. And it was the grief process that eventually, and my connection to writing and the access that gives me to my intuition and my soul, that I was eventually, over the course of 6 years, wrote this beautiful memoir about my experience with loss and love and reinvention, which was, of course, one of your big themes for this podcast, is the reinvention, right? So yeah, I published the memoir in 2022, 2 weeks after submitting my final manuscript to my copy editor. So that was it. Like, it was out of my hands. There were like the T's were crossed, the I's were dots. There was nothing else that I could do to touch the manuscript. I went in for my first ever mammogram because I had felt a painful lump behind my left breast earlier that February. So it was March 14th. I went in for this mammogram. And the very next day, I got a call back from my naturopath, who had gotten a call from the radiologist, who said, "Who's going to call your patient because Katie has cancer?" And so I picked up the phone, and it was Dr. Molly, and there was no preamble. There was nothing. She was just like, "Katie, it's cancer." So that was Tuesday. I had gotten the mammogram on Monday. Wednesday, I went back for ultrasounds and more mammograms. Thursday, the whole radiologist's office rearranged their schedule and had me show up at 5:30 in the morning for a needle-guided biopsy. And by Friday afternoon, I knew that I had at least stage 3 cancer. The cancer had moved from my breast into my lymph nodes. That next month was a complete whirlwind of bone scans and MRIs and genetic testing and everything. And we discovered that I had stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. It had moved into my sternum. There was one met about the size of a raisin. That's what I finally asked my oncologist. I was like, "What's the size of this lesion? Like, give me something that I can compare this to." She said, "It's about the size of a raisin." One met in the center of my sternum, which of course is the bone that protects our heart. And I knew intuitively that that cancer was there because of the wound of my heart being broken when my daughter had died. And in spite of all the healing and work I'd done, leaving my career as a lawyer, becoming a life coach, going on many retreats, writing my book, praying, deepening my spiritual connection, everything I'd done, there was still this circumstantial form-based manifestation of my sadness. And the good news, Lori, and I say this with such joy, is that I am healed for over 2 years now after going through all of the treatments possible. And I'm still in treatment, and I will be pretty much forever. There is no evidence of active disease in my body. The cancer is gone. And if someday in the future I die from metastatic breast cancer, that's fine, but it will be in like 35 or 40 years after I have continued to live an incredibly vibrant way showing life of showing others what is possible. But I truly believe that that cancer was the final message that I had to continue to heal. And most importantly, I had to let go of anything and everything that felt toxic and uninvited in my life. And I got rid of so much. I let so many people go. I did hypnosis and released forces that had been attached to me for a really long time. I let go, and I am more clear and more aligned and more happy and more grounded and inspired than I have ever been. And it is all because of what happened to me and how I was able to use that for me, for my growth, for my evolution, for my second reinvention. And I'm 44. So Poppy passed away. I had just turned 35. I got diagnosed with cancer at 41. I'm 44. And you know, every single minute I have left in this body on this planet is a gift. And I know it is, and I'm using it as a gift, and I'm helping lift up others and help them see it, their lives as a gift. It is a real blessing. I did not know that this was who I was going to become. I couldn't be more grateful for the opportunity.
It's so amazing. And I wish that people could see you because the joy on your face. And of course, joy is in your name. But I remember watching your journey and I did pray for you, but I never like really felt sad because the way you showed up and you weren't like trying to cover it up, like, oh, I'm going to be okay. But you were just real and raw. I just felt like you were my friend. And I am so impressed about how you say what happened to me that you're using for me, because I deal with a lot of people who have childhood sexual abuse. And that's a very hard thing, A, to talk about, especially for older women, because we were told to keep it quiet. When we don't let those things out, then what is the saying in recovery? We're as sick as the secrets we keep.
Yeah.
And it's so important for us to have community. And I love that you're doing a retreat on Whidbey Island and my stomping grounds. I love Whidbey so much. And I love that the word is emerging, because often I think, especially for me as I get older, there's this thing of, I feel like I should have arrived,
Yes.
but I never want to arrive. I want to
No.
keep arriving.
Yes. We are never done. In my coaching, when I work with my clients, a lot of the feedback that I get, and I consider myself a mindset life coach. So if someone were like, well, what kind of life coaching? It's becoming more in tune with the mindset, the bringing what is buried deep in our subconscious mind forward into the conscious mind, and then examining it and going, do I want to still believe this? Is this actually just a story? Like, for instance, the things that happened to us, the ways we were, in fact, very victimized as children when we were not protected. And I was never sexually raped or anything like that, but I was definitely abused. And that's another story for another day. But it's so hard, and it can shut us down. And with the taboos, like I'm 44, and I am part of a movement of women who globally are talking about the taboo, right? We're like, no longer will I stay closed up. No longer will I just take a pill and move on. No longer will I pretend that didn't happen. Because I mean, our spirits are boundless and free, and we are loved unconditionally by so many forces beyond our awareness, but we are, for better or worse, stuck inside these physical bodies. We have nervous systems, and they get really damaged by the things that happen to us. And it takes so much commitment to heal our nervous systems. We have to do it for ourselves. It's a choice. It's a choice over and over and again. So that mindset piece of like, am I going to be victimized by the things that have happened to me, or am I going to be responsible for what I can be responsible for? I'm going to say, yeah, this happened to me and it was really, really horrible. And here's how I'm going to move forward and through. And here's who I'm going to become because of, not in spite of. It's using it to evolve both in a spiritual way and here on earth as, you know, and you don't even have to believe in God. I do, but the growth can be merely for the physical form. If all you're motivated is to feel free and liberated within your body, then we have to heal these things. We have to look to others for help and support. And I love doing that with others in the context of coaching and being an author and writing. I'm not a therapist and I don't hold myself out to be, right? Like that's a completely different area of skill. And I have had a lot of therapy and I love therapists. And I think that that's an important piece. But when you're wanting to look forward to your future and say, okay, I've gotten some understanding about my past. I have integrated some of that. Now what do I want to create going forward? I think a coach is a really great way to do that.
I believe everyone should have a coach. And I
I
hate the word
know.
should, but I think it's so valuable. I swim every day. And I was thinking this morning as I was swimming, I've had like this little backache and it's easy to go, oh, well, I'm getting old. But what I recognized is if I really tuck my stomach in stronger and tighten my glutes while I'm swimming, it hurts and it's hard. But then the other pain that's not my choice goes away. So I'm choosing a different kind of pain, but it's taking away the one that's not my choice, because when it's not our choice, we can fall victim. I see women getting stuck and not being able to move past that. And my whole thing is, no matter how old you are, I saw a woman, 81, posted on my Facebook. She goes, I'm 81 and I'm reinventing myself. And I was like, you go, girl.
Yes, I think that's so true, right? We don't have to resign ourselves to anything. I mean, we really can choose every single day. And I don't want to sound trite or like, oh, it's easy. There is nothing easy about this path. Like you were saying, like you're choosing the pain of engaging your gluteals and your abdominals to release the pain that is the ache. It's a signal that like, hey, Lori, if you tighten your abs a little bit, like this could possibly go away. So you're having to choose one over the other. That is the daily practice that is required. And that is why we are never done. That's why the reinvention is always, I mean, think about if nature was like, meh, okay, I'm done. Like, you know, like I'm just not going to bloom this year, or like, no, we're not going to have summer. Nope, we're done. We're just going to stay in the winter. We're just going to be all mopey. And like, we'd be like, that's not how it works. And it doesn't work that way for us either.
Yeah, I love that. And it's a good reminder that we learn so much from nature.
We do. And and we're in this state of emergence, you know, the equinox. In fact, I'm so excited. This Saturday night is a new moon and a partial solar eclipse. And I didn't even plan it that way when I was booking my retreat. Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
That's amazing. So you wrote a book about your journey with Poppy, and then you wrote a book about your journey with breast cancer. And that's something people can download.
Yes. So I am so incredibly excited about this 100% completely free resource that I recently published. It's available on my website for free. It's a PDF download. It's 19 pages. It's called The Ultimate Breast Cancer Support Guide: How to Help a Friend Through Diagnosis, Treatment, and Beyond. And what makes this guide so valuable and unique is that it is written for the friend of the person who has cancer, breast cancer specifically, but I'll say probably 80% of this guide is applicable in other cancers as well. I asked thousands of breast cancer survivors for their advice, and I got input from over 300 breast cancer survivors on what's the one thing. I asked this question in one of my private Facebook groups. What's one thing that a friend did for you that really made a difference? The amount of feedback that I got blew me away, because everyone just seemed like they could not wait to answer this question. And so I had originally asked that question in 2023. I got over 300 comments. I took screenshots of all of the comments because you can't download a Facebook post. I had 42 pages of Facebook comments, and then I categorized them and I divided them into, it was like a story that started unfolding, because I was like, oh yeah, okay, meals. Okay, yeah, childcare. Yeah. You started to see these themes, and then you were like, oh, what's a boob voyage party? Oh, okay, interesting. So, and then a burn your bras party. I was like, oh, that's so interesting. All of this feedback. And then it was like, do not say this. Then people were like, do not say this. And then there was all this like, oh, okay, people are telling me what to do and what not to do. And so I started categorizing it. And then I got tired because I was still healing from radiation and surgery and chemo. And I set the project to the side because it was overwhelming and I needed to do other things like take care of myself. And then over the last year, I at least 10 times either got text messages, Instagram, Facebook, or phone call messages where people were like, Katie, I have a friend who just got diagnosed with cancer. What am I supposed to do? And it was always the friend that was reaching out to me. It wasn't the person who had gotten diagnosed. It was the friend. Like, I know you've been through this. What the heck am I supposed to do? And I was like, I've got to get that book done. January, February, I got super committed. I reorganized everything, put it into Google Docs. Then I used ChatGPT to help me format. And, it was just ChatGPT is such an incredible resource. So I gave ChatGPT like thousands and thousands of words of like, here's this list. Can you help me organize it? Make sure it's concise. There's no redundancy, that sort of thing. And I'm honest and transparent about that because I want people to understand, like, I wrote the thing and then I used ChatGPT to help me edit it. And then I got 10 beta readers. Half were breast cancer survivors, half were friends. I said, are there any inconsistencies? Is it missing anything? Would you add anything? And what was really beautiful about the feedback that I got was I got a handful of responses from people that said, I'm autistic. I have ADD, ADHD. I'm a survivor. I would love for you to include just a little bit of information about how being on the spectrum or being neuroatypical can have an impact on your experience of receiving help, of asking for help. For instance, this one person said, I need more alone time to process. It's harder for me. That doesn't mean I don't want your help. Please don't think that my inability to accept your help once means that I never want to accept your help, that kind of thing. Really valuable that I would never know. I'm very neurotypical. I've been very blessed to the world as it works, just works for me. I do not struggle in the way like educationally, reading, this sort of things. But yeah, so the book is just an incredible resource. I am hoping to get it into the hands of everyone. It's a real gift. Someone said, wow, Katie, I can't believe you're not selling this. And I said, well, I'm paying back and I'm paying it forward because I got so much help. And because Poppy had died and I had been through that grief process and I had received and needed to receive a whole bunch of help after her passing that I had never needed before as a successful 30-something lawyer who was capable of just taking care of all of things. Then I was just completely crushed. I already knew how to receive help. So when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was like, okay, world, bring it on. Like, to hear that you were praying for me, I'm like, yes. Like, I didn't care if you dropped off lasagna or if you were praying for me. I didn't care if it was you taking my daughter for a play date or walking my dog, or like, I was like, I will receive it, bring it, because I cannot do this on my own. But a lot of people, a breast cancer diagnosis is their truly one of their very first traumas that they are trying to deal with themselves and facing their own mortality and not being well and not being able to be the pillar of strength that's holding up the whole family all the time, doing it all right. Like, for the very first time, they're just literally like, I can't. And they don't know how to do that. And they don't know how to let themselves rest. They don't know how to ask for help. They don't know how to receive help. So this guide is something that, as the friend, you have a little bit of wisdom, and it's like lifting the veil of being able to see, okay, here's what's really going on. Don't take no for an answer.
I think I've been guilty of that.
And that's okay. We weren't taught, right? That's why I wrote the book. This is another busting through the taboo. Like, talk about it. This is hard. And also, something that I make very clear in the guide that I think is really important is that we don't necessarily know how to even offer help. Like, we also haven't been taught necessarily how to provide help. This guide gives you ideas of how to look at what you are capable of doing. Like, for instance, let's say someone loves gardening and that is just their strength, and weeding in the garden on their hands and knees is where they connect with themselves and everything, and they feel so at peace. Maybe weeding your friend who has cancer, weeding their garden, weeding their backyard. My backyard was a mess the summer I had chemotherapy. I couldn't pick a single weed. Like, I mean, it was sad. Every time I looked in my backyard, I was sad because it was getting so out of control, but I had no energy. And then I saw this group of guys on Facebook who were willing to offer, they were like, we are volunteers and we love gardening. Do you need help? And I was like, yes, please. And so these sweet guys who turned out to be Mormons, which was the sweetest experience ever because we sat in the backyard and talked about heaven, and they were so kind and they never tried to proselytize. Like, they were just there to be of service. And like, we all sat in the backyard and picked weeds, and they helped, because I was like, sure, I'll take your help. I know you want to help and I need help, so I'll take it. But it's like, also like, if you have dogs and you love walking dogs and you know that your friend who has cancer, their dogs are going stir crazy, say, hey, I'm going to pick up the dogs and take them to the dog park. Or the children, hey, we're going to the trampoline park. I'm going to take your kids to the trampoline park. Do what you know. If you love to cook, cook. If you don't love to cook, don't. Send a gift card. Don't do something that feels like really out of your comfort zone that you're afraid you're going to mess up. Do what works for you, and know that whether your friend is capable of acknowledging it at the time, it means the world. There were times I know where I had like 75 unread text messages. People, I'm thinking of you. I'm praying for you. How's it going? What? And I couldn't answer any of them. But every time it was like that little ding of like, I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of you. I'm like, okay. I'm like, people are paying attention. Like people, I matter.
You've given us so much to think about. Before we go, first of all, tell us how to find you.
Yeah. So my website is katiejoyduke.com, KatieJoyDuke. I'm also Katie Joy Duke on Instagram, Facebook. You can find this guide on my website, the breast cancer support guide. So you just click on that part of my website and then it'll take you to a form where you can just download it.
Awesome. And then the name of your other book
is Still Breathing, My Journey with Love, Loss, and Reinvention. That is available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. It's also available on Audible. I narrated it, which was a real honor. And if you'd like a signed copy, you can order a signed paperback copy from my website directly, and that's on katiejoyduke.com.
Perfect. Now, before we go, what is it you really, really, really want us to know?
The love that you seek is within yourself. The ability to generate love within ourselves and for ourselves is just, it's a magic. And it is often the way that I have been able to get through these very hard times is through the practice of self-compassion. We so often are willing to lend an ear or a shoulder or, a hug to the person outside of ourselves, to the friend who's hurting. And so often we refuse to give that to ourselves. And what I've learned through all of these traumas and tragedies is the more I choose to love myself and the more I choose to accept my common humanity and my fallibilities and my imperfections, the more I am actually able to open my heart and feel connected to this amazing human experience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lori. I really appreciate the invitation.
If you love this podcast, here's a big ask. Will you share with your friends and family, subscribe, give us a review, and a 5-star rating so that others looking to reinvent their lives will be able to get the help they're looking for? Thank you in advance.